most a lot of people they want to survive just like anybody else. But Rebecca, what are your thoughts
Yeah.
on extending life and kind of living forever?
I guess it depends whether you're having children or not,
Mm,
because you need to make space for those new people, right? You like
yeah.
we only have so much space on the Earth. I guess we could expand to other planets and stuff if that's. But there is a. I don't know when we'll reach it, or maybe we have already reached it. I've heard people arguing that, but there is a carrying capacity for this Earth. So if
Yeah.
people aren't dying off, but we're still having children, then that's going to be a problem.
That's interesting. That reminds me of a story I read when I was younger about a society of people that could basically live.
So overpopulation, it's definitely something to consider, right? You don't want to go over the K value, the carrying capacity. And so, but there has been recent research indicating that overpopulation isn't going to be an issue, and that there is going to be an abundance of resources in the near future, and there likely already is an abundance of resources to a degree that exists right now. It's just our ability to, get that around to everyone. We haven't quite developed either the technology to do that or just the will to do that. Um, and so, but overpopulation doesn't seem to be an issue. I'll do a lifespan extension vlog on overpopulation because that's a common argument that you hear from people. And well, when you're talking to them about increasing lifespan, but there's like, and there's so many things though that would prevent overpopulation that are about to occur, right? Like just think about like transferring consciousness alone. Like if that really does develop in the next like 15 years, it's like okay, you pretty much have infinite space. But then like Rebecca said, you got space travel. You can colonize different planets. We're about to be going vertical and not just up but down, right? Um, with Elon Musk's Boring Company, and so that should create like way more room. And we actually don't use that much space on the planet in the first place. Like first off, we're not in the ocean very much, and hopefully we'll start living in the ocean more often in the future. I mean, we will, but but there's already so much space, right? Ray Kurzweil talks about this a lot. How there's already so much space on this planet. A lot of people think that there's not much space on this planet already, and there actually is. And so it's really odd that people think that they have that preconceived notion. But whatever.
Forever. And when the children got older and they wanted to look up to people, they would look up to their parents, and their parents were still looking up to their parents and their parents. And then, like, stuff wasn't getting done because there was like a chain of dependency, and people could actively choose to kill themselves. But that was pretty much the only way you'd die is if you made that choice, because otherwise you could live forever. That was kind of an interesting take, too. And that's what that reminded me of. But Bobby, obviously, I think you have some thoughts about this.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I've been working on the research for like maybe a year and a half now, 2 years, and I've been studying transhumanism also for a while now. And I'm really
Dude, sorry for being such an monster. I'm trying to work on that. I'll get better, I swear. But yeah, no more monster.
surprised that atheists aren't attracted to this idea of living longer. Because we all know for sure that there's nothing after death. It's just it's quite obvious to us. So you think like more of us would be like jump on board like really instantly.
My team used to ping pong with.
Well,
That's really interesting, I think.
Maybe that's because maybe because we're wary of science. Maybe because we're wary of the effects and the sociological impacts that our decisions and technology make. Like I think maybe we're just a bit more cautious about kind of the ramifications of that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just spitballing.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's pretty like cut and dry. It's like you're either dead or you're here, and it's like if you're not here, then you can't. At least you have a chance here, to fix things. But and then I think atheists, the next step for atheism, it's really easy to like make fun of theists, and I think you do like an excellent job at not making fun of them. Like like other atheist podcasts, they'll make fun of them a lot and stuff, and that's fun to watch sometimes. But I think you do a really good job at being objective and really letting them know, like, this is wrong, and you explain why.
Well, thank you, Bobby. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. But I think the next step for atheism really is to heal theists, because there might be.
In case you didn't know what I said, I said heal, HEAL.
Be like a mass suicide that occurs because of theism once we defeat death.
Okay, this is another problem that I had, and where I was too nonchalant and should have been a little more careful with my words, because this is like a super important issue, and not just for society, but personally also, because I have a lot of religious family members, and so I always want to make sure I'm really careful with when I talk about religion. Yeah, I mean, it's super important societally, right? Because majority of people are religious on the planet, and that seems to be decreasing by quite a bit over time. The more that we, when information gets out, but I still think it's such an important issue, and I just wish I was more careful with my words when I was saying this.
That's because people want to go to the afterlife and whatnot. So I think we really need to step up our game and be concerned for these people and really try to heal their
I don't know. Well, but there's also a clear theology under most Christian sects that I'm aware of that, and suicide is not an action that will necessarily get you to heaven.
That's such an important point.
Like taking your own life could be considered, a sin. Of course, maybe if you're saved, I don't know how that works. It depends on your soteriology is the word for that. Study of salvation.
Are they just going to accept the cancer, or are they going to take the treatment? I think a lot of theists are going to convince themselves to not take the treatment, and I think it's our duty now to help them. To see the lights.
There are people that are like, I want to come home to Jesus. Like that's a phrase that you hear, and
yeah, man, it's gnarly.
That's a tough thing, because I've in general have been in favor of people's right to death, like people who are at that point in their life where they're ready for themselves. But like, if it's for reasons like that would also be hard. But I also respect people's autonomy. So like, a lot of conflicting moral boundaries here that I'd have to navigate.
That was really good points that Dan made. All these different sort of, what can I say? All these different values, I guess, that conflict with each other, like what Dan said. You got to think about people's autonomy. You got to think about their ideology. You got to think about their level of daily suffering, right? And how much that can be overcame, and how soon we can overcome that. You have to think about what's actually morally correct and what's morally incorrect. And Matt, a quick, what's that word? A thought experiment you can conduct. I just kind of thought of. So a quick thought experiment you can conduct is, imagine a society in which we could only live up to like 20 years old, right? Which is what society used to look like a long time ago, like 1,000 years ago, right? And so imagine we can only live to like 20 years old, and somebody came out with a treatment that could help us live, that could extend health span and lifespan to 80 years old, like today, right? Or to like 100 years old, let's say. And everyone was a bunch of people were telling them like, oh no, like they're using the similar arguments that they use when I talk about living to 150, right? They're like, oh, it'd be boring, or it would be there'd be overpopulation, or that's just not natural, right? But that society would be horrible, right? Living to 20. Imagine trying to convince everyone to live only to 20 years old. and you had to take away all the science technology that we have today overnight because people wanted to go back to living 20 because that's supposedly natural, which to a lot of you, it's really easy for you to understand that the whole natural argument is, doesn't make sense, right? But how evil would that society be, right? Trying to convince everyone to not take all the science and technology that's around us right now that helps us live to 100 years old and not 200 years old because it'd be too boring or whatever, right? That'd be so evil to be going around convincing people to only live to 20 years old. Now imagine trying to convince people to only live to 100 years old or 80 years old, right? Instead of 150 or 1,000 years old, right? I think it's just as evil, right? So let's keep watching.
We got to start talking about it,
Yeah, you're right. I think maybe we do need to have more of a conversation about it. But I also want to have some conversations with some other callers here. So I am going to get to some other people here. Bobby, thanks so much for calling in and talking about this interesting topic with us. And if you have any more research, I want to know what's going on. Tell me your findings if you can. Later on.
Email your website.
Yeah.
My preliminary research. And I just want to say one last thing real quick.
Sure.
We're actually going to defeat death. I have evidence that we're going to defeat death probably like 15, 20 years from now.
All right, Bobby. Well, this video is going to go on the internet, and if YouTube is still around in 15 years, you owe me $100, okay? And that's for this money's time, not for
Hey, dude. Hey, I'm sticking to that bet, Dan.
future inflation, okay? That's for current value. We got to look up the index. All right, I'm going to let you go here, Bobby. Thanks again for calling in on that. But yeah, interesting topic. Pretty cool that he gets to research that stuff. So
yeah, it's actually that sort of thing is playing out at the moment, isn't it? With what he was saying about suicide with the Christian Science people who are not only refusing treatment often for their own because they it's in their religion not to have blood transfusions or whatever, but also for their kids, and that's when it worries me when it's like and I don't know what the answer is because you can't.
In 2077, what makes someone a criminal? Getting caught.
Everyone loves that guy.
I don't know what the answer is, but
Yeah.
it's that, like you were saying, the balance between respecting someone's autonomy, but also trying to be compassionate and keep them safe. And
like
it's complicated.
Most recently, I think about this with the coronavirus stuff. We haven't talked about the coronavirus at all on this show. Nobody's got me any coronavirus conspiracies, although they're out there. Trust me.
I'm sure.
Recently, China has decided to kind of quarantine certain zones and kind of have these no-goes, even though there's a scientific consensus that those kind of strategies typically don't work especially with the population size that they've got over in Wuhan and stuff. But as the World Health Organization is trying to help out with that situation, we also there's a precedent to respect China's autonomy as well and what they're doing with their citizens. It's like, but like we want to, the best way to help you isn't what you're doing, and it's like, oh man, and that relates to just a lot of different issues. Something I wonder if I could get an expert on that kind of stuff in the future. Maybe it'd be pretty cool.
Sweet. So that's the video, and yeah, hope you enjoyed. So what else? Yeah, sorry for being a monster. We only got like 200 something views, so you should all just like watch it like over and over. I'm just kidding. And so I think that was all. Yeah. So go to their channel, subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell, all that stuff. Share the video, and then I think that's it for the video. All right, I look forward to living with all of you forever.
I turn to the face, I post